AI's biggest threat isn't regulation, it isn't safety, it isn't even the technology itself, it's electricity. In the next 5 years, the power required to run AI could push global data center consumption to 1,500 terawatt hours a year, triple today's levels. That's like trying to plug in 137 billion American homes all at once. And here's the terrifying part. Our grids were never built for this. One data center can draw as much power as a major city. Local utilities are already buckling. Blackouts are possible, and in some regions, the wait list to hook into the grid is 7 years long. The future of AI won't be decided by code, it'll be decided by whether we can keep the lights on. Over the next 5 years, AI platforms' power requirements are projected to grow dramatically, with global data center electricity consumption expected to triple by 2030 compared to 2023 levels. AI-specific power demand could rise between 165 and 326 terawatt hours per year by 2028. While Goldman Sachs forecasts a 165% increase in data center power demand globally by 2030, driven largely by AI growth. Just to give you a sense of how much power we're talking about, 1,500 terawatt hours annually could power roughly 137 billion average US homes for 1 year based on current consumption rates. That's roughly 1,000 times more US homes than we actually have. So let's talk some numbers about the power grid demands from AI and more specifically AI data centers. A big thanks to Bloom Energy for most of the following stats and figures. But in the US, data center power consumption is expected to more than triple to over 600 terawatt hours annually by 2030. Another way to look at it is the projected growth in US data center IT capacity for 2030 could require 8 to 12% of the total US electricity demand compared to the 3 or 4% today. That adds enormous pressure to local distribution infrastructure. And while this surge in demand is large, current assessments indicate the US power grid can manage the increase, though it does require careful planning, capacity expansion, efficiency improvements, and integration of renewables. And those challenges remain with grid congestion, long-term reliability, and timely installation of renewable generation. I hope you're enjoying the content, and if you are, please consider subscribing to the channel. Back to the episode. I do think it's important to break down the macro versus micro impact of these projects and the power required. Sure, across the nation, I'm sure the averages work out that we can support a 10 to 15% increase in power supply needs with these AI data centers. But these data centers are built in local communities and on the backs of local utilities. And the question is, can those local utilities keep up? The short answer is no, they can't. Local utilities will always struggle to provide the massive power needed for large AI data centers. Current AI data centers require energy at a scale far beyond typical facilities, with some single AI data centers demanding up to 2 gigawatts of continuous power, which is the equivalent to the energy consumption of millions of homes. Power demands at AI centers can be extremely dynamic, changing hour to hour and even minute to minute. Under extreme circumstances, power grids can black out completely during periods of high demand. This is prevalent during heat waves when commercial and residential air conditioners draw significantly more power simultaneously, which makes building these AI data centers in the Sun Belt of the United States a bit of a head scratcher. Drilling down into the infrastructure constraints, I've already mentioned the bottlenecks in transmission and distribution capacity that already exists, but combine that with long delays of up to 7 years for granting requests and permits for data center grid interconnection, and we find our most basic utility services under severe strain. The US power grid was never designed for the concentrated 24/7 high-demand loads AI data centers create, resulting in harmonic distortions, load relief warnings, and generation shutdown risks in some areas. And just to nerd out a bit, harmonic distortions are disruptions in the frequency waves electrical power operates in under normal circumstances. Those disruptions are caused by several factors, one of which is nonlinear power demand. Think surge of demand for power. When this happens, power becomes unclean and can damage transformers, motors, and unsettle the grid itself, which is a precursor to potential power grid failures. Even when those power demands can be met consistently, transporting that power effectively to data centers is a major challenge because transmission lines capable of providing that energy are not available at the site of these data centers. You have to remember, these data centers are absolute behemoths. Facebook is building a data center in Louisiana right now that's going to be more than 4 million square feet. It's 91 acres for you land use nuts out there. And that only includes the building itself, not the grounds, not the parking lot, not anything else tied to the property. I bring that up because it's not like these data centers are repurposing an old warehouse or production facility. These are almost exclusively greenfield new construction projects. And that development will need utility services backhauled to the site. So how are these challenges being addressed? Grid operators and data center developers are exploring site selection solutions that move these data centers closer to renewable energy resources, which make transmission projects less complicated, and even deploying on-site generation and energy storage. And this is where my antenna goes up. I like the idea, but the size and scope of renewable energy plants required to produce this kind of power, this amount of power, is almost comical. The Copper Mountain Solar Plant in Nevada, you know, the one that looks like the Eye of Sauron from the Hobbit movies? Well, that plant is 4,700 acres and produces just 1.3 terawatts of power per year. Remember when I said AI global power demand could reach 1,500 terawatts per year by 2030? I don't even want to guess how many wind turbines we would need for even a single data center. And I get it. They don't need to run completely off renewables, just relieve some pressure on the existing grid. But when a 4,700-acre solar plant can't produce 0.1% of the power needed, is it going to be that helpful? Sam Altman, founder of OpenAI, has argued that the future capabilities of artificial intelligence will be defined and limited by access to energy. He stated, quote, "The cost of AI will converge to the cost of energy, and intelligence will scale as far as the grid allows." Sorry, I can't do a Sam Altman hushed tones impersonation. I'm just not that talented. Sam's not just spitting drama here. He's personally investing in nuclear fusion technology, signaling a very real need to find additional scalable power sources. And what's the impact of data centers on their environment? We hear about these stories all the time, but do we fully understand the knock-on effects of these massive data centers? I mean, clearly there are some key environmental impacts. We've been talking about the energy consumption, and those create carbon emissions. They consume large amounts of electricity, mostly derived from fossil fuels, which leads to significant CO2 and greenhouse gas emissions that contribute to climate change. And to put it in perspective, AI data centers require 5 to 10 times more energy than traditional web search centers. Many data centers use water-intensive cooling systems to dissipate heat from servers. Think radiator in your car. For example, some centers consume hundreds of thousands of gallons of water daily, which strain the local water resources, especially in drought-prone areas. Again, I don't know why we're building these things in the Sun Belt. Backup diesel generators used for power outages release pollutants, including particulate matter, nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, and carbon dioxide, lowering air quality and posing health risks in nearby communities. Who doesn't want all the dioxides? And again, these things have huge footprints. Construction of large AI data centers often involves rezoning vast land areas, sometimes destroying wetlands, farmland, forest habitats. Think about the 91 acres that Facebook needs to build their data center. What did that disrupt? What did that displace? Even manufacturing of AI hardware requires extensive mining of metals and minerals, which contributes to habitat destruction, water and soil pollution, and waste generation. Some of those materials are difficult or even impossible to recycle, which, over time, adds to industrial and e-waste. These impacts are often underreported, but they can have long-term environmental consequences. What's the plan for mitigating these impacts? Well, AI hardware is becoming more efficient, as is data center design. AI is being deployed to design better energy optimization and to reduce energy consumption in other sectors, which may help balance the overall rise in electricity demand. Here's the first sign of the pending singularity. AI is creating the solutions for AI problems. Ultimately, the AI boom isn't just a story about smarter machines, it's a story about electrons, whether our power grids, utilities, and governments can keep up. We're staring down an energy race that will define the next decade of innovation. So what do you think? Will breakthroughs like nuclear fusion and renewable expansion save us? Or are we heading for rolling blackouts as AI scales? It's worth considering because the future of AI might be decided not in code, but in kilowatts. That's all for this episode. Thanks so much for checking us out. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.